The WSK Euro Series 2013 approaches the last event of the season on the Belgian track of GENK. The track is 1350 meters long and will host more than 200 drivers during the weekend. All of them will have to race at their best to win the seasonal champion title. It surely won't be easy for the pilots, who will have to be better than their opponents with feats of skill and experience. Entertainment will be assured. Three out of the 4 racing categories still have to crown their champions. Only the KF Junior has elected the winner among their rankings. Lando Norris, in fact, is mathematically on the top of the podium. The only thing left to decide is the identity of who will occupy the other steps. In the KF, the French Dorian Boccolacci is ready to try and gather the deserved compensation for the gritty and competitive season. The official energy pilot will have to face his opponents, among them the Polish Karol Bas, who has proved his skills in more than one occasion and whose competitiveness has been constant throughout the season. Together with these two, the Danish Nicholas Nielsen on a Cosmic and the English Ben Barnico for our Grand Prix are still competing for the precious title. Both are very close to Baz and not unreasonably far from Boccolacci. On the contrary, the KZ2 is a category mainly fought among Italian drivers. In fact, Marco Zanchetta and Riccardo Nigro are hard at fight to decide who will earn the final title of the season. Both of the pilots have raced the other and their skills are so balanced that knowing who the winner will be is hard. Jan Miderla was outcast by the roaring competition, even if his position in the rankings is now third, and he could still theoretically conquer the title. The Italian Negro is fresh from a victory in the European Championship which took place in Germany, and we are sure his feats will resonate here in the Belgian track of GENK. And last, the category where the most awarded pilots marshal, the KZ1. All of the forecasts anticipate Max Verstappen as the sole likely winner of the competition. After 2012, where his racing was not always on par with the family Seki Bears, the Dutch pilot has managed to come back and has exploited the same racing team which had propelled him in the lights of the show. CRG, his arrival in Belgium, is coming after a dominion on the asphalt of the German stop of the European Championship, and we are sure that this previous result will push Max even farther. His main opponent is the Englishman Benjamin Hanley, 60 points behind him in the general rankings. The gap is wide but not unbridgeable, and this feat could be helped by the intensive collaboration of other drivers, as the Italian Paolo De Conto, who has shown in multiple occasions that he has no one to fear, and the Belgian Jonathan Thonon, who might be dangerously at ease on a known domestic track as the one where the event will take place. With these premises and these important recaps, the last event of the WSK Euro Series begins. While the last pilots end the free trials and whiz away to the paddocks, we'll give you a taste of what happened on the track of the first European Championship event. After the free trials and the qualification, the best 12 chronos of the KF Junior are directly funneled in the Superpole, where the Finnish Niko Kari is at the top, with a time of 53.890 seconds. A perfect lap which allowed him to get the best 22 milliseconds ahead of the German David Beckmann and 56 ahead of Leonardo Lorandi. As for the Superpole of the KF, the Danish Nicholas Nielsen was able to pull out an amazing best time out of his hat, allowing him to open an abysmal gap of 28 milliseconds from the Polish Karol Baz and a wider one of 70 milliseconds with the French Dorian Boccolacci. Heat is up and the round will be one hell of a show. Among the veterans of the KZ2, Nigro is able to take his DR to the pole position by completing an unbeatable lap. Behind him we can find the Swedish Johansson on an energy cart, just ahead of the Birel of the Czech Jan Niederland. The same degree of excitement could be felt during the KZ1 category Superpole, where drivers like Verstappen, Hanley, Dresen alternate with the best times. But it is the Belgian Yannick de Brabander who manages to snatch the first position from everyone else, and out of the blue brings his Maranello kart to the top. During the qualification bouts of the KF Junior, the German David Beckmann was able to crush the opposition. Behind the wheel of Zanardi, he was able to win 3 bouts out of 5. The performance by the Finnish driver Niko Kari was also noteworthy, who won one of the bouts after conquering of the pole. Alessio Lorandi was also able to steal a victory, propelling his Tony kart to the 3rd position of the qualification rankings. A shame for the French Gabriel Aubry, who was able to win 2 bouts but was disqualified from the last of them for unfair behavior on the track during the race. This episode cost the pilot 32 points in penalties. In the KF category, underlining the performance by Niklas Nielsen is the least we can do. After gaining the pole position, in fact, the Danish driver was perfect in the cockpit of his Cosmic in whatever bout he joined. 4 mini competitions, all of them won flawlessly, allowed the pilot to finish the day without any penalties. Behind him, the performances of Dorian Boccolacci and Armand Converse, while the best of the Italian drivers was Andrea Russo, driving a Cosmic. In the KZ2, Nigro basically raced along during the 2 qualification bouts that the driver joined. Johansson's and Zanchetta's performances were the hardest to defend against. In KZ1, Verstappen was the most consistent by winning the first bout and coming second in the second one, beaten by the author of the pole position Yannick de Brabander. Saturday's last event are the 2 finals for the KZ categories. In KZ2, Nigro is able to dart forward and gain the lead when the lights turn off. The only hope for the title is Nigro's ability to remain first. Obviously, Zanchetta is on the hunt and is immediately behind the first position holder. The challenge is sparkling, and during the 3rd lap, Zanchetta is able to shrink down the 400 milliseconds of gap between them to just a mere 200 milliseconds. But the sudden turn of event comes when, during the fourth lap, the gear stick of Zanchetta's Maranello forces him to abandon the race due to technical problem. Once Zanchetta is out, the Danish Andreas Fasberg takes his place, while the Czech Radim Maxa gains the third position. Nigro, though, has outdistanced them so much that he only has to manage his 2 seconds gap on his opponents. The last change to the rankings happens during the 9th of 15 laps, when Maxa is also forced to retire from the event and to leave the third position to the German Schmitz. Nigro wins the first final with a 2 seconds gap on the second driver, namely Fasberg. More importantly, he is able to gain dominance in the general rankings by only 2 points on the unlucky Zanchetta. The last final of the KZ2 will be an all-in. The KZ1 final was mainly a wonderful duel between the clashing talents of Marco Ardigot and of Max Verstappen. A rocket under his seat, the Tony Kart team champion is able to overtake Verstappen's pole position, also thanking a slight contact between the Dutch and Hanley during the first turn. But certain fires cannot be quenched, and the young Verstappen is ready to chase the Italian, waiting the right moment to exploit the breach in Ardigot's defense. Behind them, Benjamin Hanley and Jean-Marie Pex are struggling to keep the pace the lead of the race is forcing on everyone. During the first 4 laps, Ardigot is able to fend off the attacks of Verstappen, but with a surgical attempt, Max is able to conquer the lead during the 5th lap out of 15. And as always happens in these cases, Verstappen is able to open a wide gap, lap after lap, from his opponents. After this victory, the young Dutch driver mathematically becomes the winner of the championship. Weather forecasts for Sunday indicate a sunny day with a chilling wind. On the grid, we can find the KF Junior young drivers, raiding their karts for the pre-finals. During pre-final A, the German David Beckmann takes the lead while being pursued by the Italian Lorandi, the Canadian Thompson, the Russian Mazepin and the French Aubry. The head group is dense and compact, and during the second lap, Thompson overtakes Lorandi and kicks in into second position. Beckmann is in the meantime slowly grinding seconds and leading his opponents to escalate the fray for the second place. And Aubry joins right into the mayhem and is able, during the 7th lap, to swap position with Lorandi first and 3 laps later with the Canadian Thompson, ending up second. The final placements are David Beckmann first, followed by Aubry and Lorandi. The pre-final B has the Finnish Niko Kari in the lead, preceding the English Enam Ahmed and the Thai Sasakorn Chaimongkol. These 3 drivers will be able to progressively detach from the rest of the pilots, who are led by the German Lirim Zendel. During the 3rd lap, the first noteworthy overtake is between the attacker Ahmed and the defender Kari, who is slid back into second position, just ahead of Chaimongkol. Behind them, Siknikov is fighting Zendeli. During the 10th of the 15 laps, the Thai Chaimongkol is able to overtake Kari and earns the second position. During the last laps, the English Ahmed is able to snatch the victory. The last pre-final is the KF1. Niklas Nielsen keeps on building up his streak of flawlessness, gaining the first position after a start from the pole position. But the pre-final is not going to be easy for the Danish. During the second lap, the French Boccolacci promptly overtakes him and gains the lead of the race. This triggers a series of overtakes, with the Spaniard Hiltbrand quickly shifting into second position, while the French Converse and the English Nel are ready to strike from the back alleys. And so, what everyone thought being a very easy task for the Danish turned out to be the unbalanced and well-fought race between 6 pilots and the resistance to nerve-wracking. Victory is decided in one last dash, where the French Boccolacci is able to win by 400 milliseconds of Hiltbrand and the English Nel. Once the pre-finals are done, the pilots of KZ2 are deployed on the grid for the qualifications before the second final. During these bouts, Nigro is able to flex his muscles and cash in on 2 easy victories, where his main opponent, Marco Zanchetta, seems utterly unable to keep up with Nigro's rhythm. In the KZ1 qualification, Dresen and David Fauré win a bout each, while Max Verstappen, already champion laureate, spins out of the track during the first bout and comes in 8th during the second. While we wait for the finalists to get ready for the last 4 finals of the WSK Euro Series 2013, let us recap the events of Sarno's third event on Naples International Track. The first final was for the KF Junior pilots. Beckman is in pole, flanked by the English Ahmed. Behind them, the French Aubry and the Thai Sasakorn Chaimonkol. When the race starts, the German is able to maintain his first position and is followed strictly by the French Aubry and the Canadian Thompson, while Randy melts into the big group and out of the head of the race, switching to 10th position. Aubry waits for the second lap and then darts like a loaded spring, overtaking Bachmann. Nonetheless, the consistency of the German allows him to regain the head of the race during the following lap, taking his Zanardi in the first position. The challenge is red hot. Both pilots are fighting hardcore to overtake the opponent. And at the end of the fourth lap, they cut the finish line at the same moment. No one else is able to keep up with their rhythm, so the other pilots will have to make do with the fight for the third place. Among them, Thompson, Ahmed, Kari and Trevisanutto. The leading duel lasts for 10 out of the 15 laps. During the 10th lap, in fact, the gap between the German and the French widens, and Bachmann is able to win his first international car competition. Behind him, Aubry and Thompson are second and third, respectively. On the podium, we can see Bachmann's happiness, but the championship title goes to Lando Norris, virtually invisible in this event.
I feel super. My first victory in the WSK, and yeah, good. Yeah, my next step is in Alcanis in a European Championship, and I hope I will win.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Now, the spotlight is on the KF category, and tension is already starting to rise from the asphalt. In tendrils which snake through the grid positions. Dorian Boccolacci is at the top of the grid, flanked by the Spaniard Hildbrand on an LH. Behind them, the English Sam Snell on an Energy Kart, and the French Armand Converse on Cosmic. The third row goes to Nielsen and Romanov. Some seconds after the start, and Pedro Hildbrand dribbles anyone on his path and starts rushing on the asphalt. Immediately behind him, the French Boccolacci and the English Barnicot and the Belgian Bailey and the Russian Romanov. The head group manages to keep compact after some racing has occurred, while the fight for the podium rages without respite. Boccolacci overtakes Hildbrand during the second lap, while Romanov and Nielsen pass Bailey and conquer the fourth and fifth place. Boccolacci is in the lead, towing the remainder of the pilots. His frantic attempts to lose his pursuers are not successful, and now the French will have to fend off someone else's attacks, since Barnicot overtakes Hildbrand's second position. In the following lap, Nielsen overtakes Romanov first and Hildbrand later. The Spanish will also be overtaken by the Russian and will keep on losing positions all throughout the race. In the meantime, there is no stopping Nielsen. During the fifth lap, the Danish could shave using Barnicot's screeching tires, if the young pilot had a beard. But being still young, he decides to overtake him instead. There are less than 200 milliseconds between Nielsen and Boccolacci. The former is able to avoid them in just a matter of minutes and is thus able to gain the lead of the race during lap number 8. In just 2 more laps, it gains more than half a second of advantage from anyone else. In the meantime, Boccolacci is being ripped apart by the chasing hounds, Barnicot and Romanov, who kick the French back into 4th position. And so the race ends, giving the deserved triumph to the Nielsen, who is followed shortly after by Barnicot and Romanov. Notwithstanding the 4th place, Boccolacci is able to claim the title of the 2013 Euro Series champion.
Bon, d'abord, j'ai fait donc les 4 courses du championnat de WSK Euro se sont super bien passées. J'ai tout d'abord fait une 3e place à la Conca, puis ensuite à Zuera une 2e place. Ensuite, j'ai super bien fait en Italie à Sarno, avec une première place. Et ici, j'ai assuré le championnat avec une quatrième place en gagnant la pré-finale. Donc un super championnat. Je voulais remercier la FFSA, Lotus F1 Junior Team, mon équipe Énergie, Luigina, Simone qui me soutiennent depuis tout le temps. Et mes parents aussi, voilà. Merci beaucoup et je suis très content et j'espère continuer la saison comme ça.
Today was actually a good day for me. Also, I mean, like we win the last heat today and finished fifth in the pre-final and won the final. But it's not only today we are fast. I mean, all week we had the speed. I won all 4 heats, made the pole position, and yeah, won the final as well. So good weekend.
Now, the last final of the season is being prepared on the track, where a crowd of veterans of the four-wheelers are deploying their powerful karts on the asphalt of the track. The KZ2 is waiting, and Nigro and Zanchetta are only 2 points away, one from the other. Nigro is in pole, flanked by the Dutch Ronkema on a Zanardi kart. Behind them, the German Schmitz and the Norwegian Antonsen. Zanchetta will start from the third row. When the engines start roaring, Nigro keeps his head straight and manages to keep Ronkema, Antonsen, Schmitz and Zanchetta behind his back. Due to technical difficulties, Zanchetta's kart slips back into 10th position. This forces him to a furious comeback, because his direct opponent is leading the race and does not have any intention of letting him go. Luckily for Zanchetta, his intentions are of little importance when Johansson is raging like hell was at his heels. During the 8th lap, the Swedish overtakes the Italian, while Zanchetta is able to float up into 5th position during the 10th lap. After another 3 laps, Zanchetta is able to overtake Jan Middelslav 4th position, and in the meantime, Antonsen passes Nigro, going up to 2nd place. Now the duel between Nigro and Zanchetta is direct, because they are respectively in 3rd and 4th position, less than 100 milliseconds away one from the other. But in this very moment, Nigro finds the energy for one last mad leap, and somehow manages to increase the gap with Zanchetta, finishing his race 3rd behind Johansson, 1st, and Antonsen, 2nd. Zanchetta is 4th, and loses the championship title by 331 milliseconds. On the podium, Nigro's happiness is a good sign that tension was relieved from his brain.
All weekend was good. We started good second in the qualifying. And unfortunately, the first final yesterday, Saturday, we break the engine and it wasn't so good. So we start from the back today, but we fight back and was up to 6th in the start of the final. And in the final, we make some changes and it was good. And make good start and come up to 3rd and then just go on and go up to 1st place. And it was a perfect race. It was great. So I want to thank my team and Panigada and Lupo making the engine for really good work this weekend.
The last program final is the KZ1. The Belgian Rick Dresen occupies the foremost position, flanked by Davide Foré, together with a huge load of desire for victory. The second row is occupied by the Czech Hayek and the Italian Ardigo, while the Dutch Verstappen is starting from the 7th row in the 14th position. When the fuel starts burning, Rick Dresen leaves everyone with his star's taste in their mouth. But his will be a short-lived cavalcade, since technical problems force him out of the competition. Foré takes up his place, followed by Ardigo and Thonon. Once Foré feels the presence of Ardigo, he floors the pedal on the accelerator and manages to accumulate more than a half of seconds on everyone else, allowing to manage his race without issues. In the meantime, Ardigo starts feeling the haunting presence of Thonon, who is inspired by the air of his mother country. During the 10th lap, Ardigo will be forced to abandon the 2nd place to the Belgian. But the streak of bad luck will not end for the Italian driver, since during the last laps he will be forced into 5th position by Hayek and Verstappen. Speaking of which, Verstappen was protagonist of a mind-blowing comeback, which brought him from the 14th position to the 3rd. But in the end, he will be excluded from the final rankings due to damage to his frontal bumper. Ain't that a bumper? Davide Foré, thus, wins the race and shares the podium with Sonon and Hayek. So, in the end, the final rankings state that in the KF Junior, the English Lando Norris is elected champion with 229 points, followed by the Italian Alessio Lorandi at 140 and the German David Bachmann at 137. In the KF, the French Boccolacci is crowned as 2013 champion with 213 points, followed by the Danish Niklas Nielsen at 145 and the English Barney Coe at 119. In the KZ2, the last second champion turns out to be Riccardo Nigro, with a total pair of 2024 points, followed by Zanchetta, only 7 points away. Jan Midderla is third with 133 points. And in the end, the KZ1 takes Max Verstappen as paradigm of skill and grit, electing his champion 2013 with 215 points. He is followed by the English Hanley at 137 and the Belgian Thenon at 99. So, the WSK Euro Series is over. And now it's the turn of the WSK Master Series, which will end on the 14th of July on the track of Castelletto Ticino in Italy.